Birthday greetings to Neil Young from This Sonic Obsession. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Neil. Happy birthday to you. Okay, we're not going to win any awards for our singing, but the feeling is there, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, happy birthday, Neil. He turned 80 this week.
Yeah, November 12th.
November 12th. Born in Toronto, Canada in 1945.
Yep.
Grew up in the small town of Omemee, north of Ontario, which is the town that inspired the song Helpless, the classic song from Deja Vu. All his changes were there, is a famous line from that, right?
Yeah.
And then he lived in Winnipeg during his teen years, and when he started becoming a musician. So happy birthday, Neil. One of the greatest, obviously one of the greatest, most legendary musicians of all time. A great Canadian.
One of the greatest musicians, Canadian or otherwise, I would like to point out.
He's pretty much close to, if not on the Mount Rushmore of rock musicians in my mind.
Oh, without a doubt,
or
yeah.
in anybody's mind, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. He's still making music. I don't always like his music, as he's gotten older, but without a doubt, his classic albums from the 70s and other albums as well are among the greatest in rock history.
Yeah, what's your favorite Neil album?
Well, anything from the 70s.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything he put out. I mean, I know the album I've played the most, which would be Harvest, but that was the one Neil Young album that I own, so I played it all the time when I was a teenager.
Do you still have it?
Well, it's not the original, but...
Oh, okay. I was going to say how worn out it would be. That's.
No, I don't. I mean, this is one of the Chris Bellman cut reissues that came out a few years back, which are tremendous. But, is it my favorite? I mean, I love all of them, from that period. Just an incredible run of albums.
Now that is my favorite.
Yeah.
I still have my original, but I wouldn't play it on my turntable because God knows what would happen to the needle because it is worn out.
After the Gold Rush, his second solo album, everybody knows This Is Nowhere, which has the legendary Down by the River, and what's the other song?
Cinnamon Girl.
Cinnamon Girl, yeah. Another unbelievable album, On the Beach. This is a reissue called Duma, but it's the Zuma Sessions, which is another great album from...
That is a really good album.
76,
that one, well,
76
so
maybe.
Zuma, of course.
One of my favorite Neil Young records, and to me it's grossly overlooked, is Comes a Time.
That might be my second favorite. I really like that album.
It is a fantastic album.
Yeah, it is.
The great duets with Nicolette Larson, the amazing cover of one of the greatest Canadian songs of all time,
Four Strong Winds.
Yeah, by Neil.
Written by Ian Tyson.
Ian Tyson of Ian and Sylvia. And a live.
Yeah, these albums are just, they're all just magnificent. They're just great.
Yeah. The Great Decade, the best of from the 1970s. And
when you look at that album, Decade, and you look at the material on that, man, he just wrote some powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Early in his career. Oh. I mean,
as good as anybody ever did.
Oh, without a doubt.
In the history of rock music.
Yeah.
Who has a better catalog from the 1970s? David Bowie, in my mind, would be right up there.
Well, the Beatles.
Well,
obviously the 60s, yeah. But, I mean, as far as being young and being able to write such strong material that has stood up over the test of time.
The Beatles,
he's in the category of the Beatles.
Stones, David Bowie, Neil Young. Those are the guys, that changed music.
Dylan, of course.
Dylan, yeah, obviously. Just an incredible run of albums, and they're all fantastic. And earlier this week...
Oh, sorry. But don't forget his work with Buffalo Springfield, too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we overlook that because, of course, it was a group. But some of the material that he did with Buffalo Springfield is just amazing as well, right? I mean, he was building up, of course, to his solo career, but that those exchanges, especially some of the videos that I've seen, he and Stephen Stills playing guitar. I mean, one of the great first duos of guitar playing in rock music as well. They kind of did something that nobody was really doing at the time, or not much of it.
Yeah, there weren't many bands you can think of from the 60s that had the dueling twin guitars, right?
And then, of course, the fact that these two were such amazing songwriters, working in the same band. So, so you were going to say something?
Yeah, earlier this week there was a tribute concert at the legendary Massey Hall in Toronto, which was a very important venue in the evolution of Neil Young as well.
Yeah.
Where Canadian artists such as Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo, Matt Mays from Halifax,
Joel Plaskett from Halifax, Dartmouth,
Sarah Harmer,
Rose Cousins, who lives in this area. I think originally from PEI, but I believe she lives in the Halifax area now.
Dallas Green of City and Color,
Luke Doucet, who played some, I guess, scorching guitar. I've seen some of the video from it, and once again, I'm like, gee, I would have loved to have been at Massey Hall for the show.
Yeah, just a tremendous show. What I've seen as well. I'll put a link in our description to some of the maybe the highlights of that.
Yeah,
certainly Ohio was a big one.
Yeah, Jim Cuddy, I believe, sang that.
Yeah,
and
Luke Doucet played guitar on it.
Yeah, so but yeah, Massey Hall legendary, Neil Young legendary. Bring everybody together and celebrate his birthday. He did send a video message. I looked all over the internet. I could not find the message. Did you?
No, I didn't see it either. I don't know, but it was played, I guess, during the concert.
Yeah.
And he was wearing an Omimi University of Omimi T-shirt, which is a joke.
Which is a joke. Yeah.
I mean, Omimi is just a.
I don't even know what the closest university would be to Omimi, but quite a ways away. Let's put it that way. But he performed there a couple of years ago, or a few years ago now. He did a very intimate show, and it was broadcast, if I remember correctly, on CTV, and I think it was live.
It was live, yeah.
Yeah, which was just fantastic because he was going back to his roots, and I think he and Daryl Hannah now have a cottage in the area or somewhere in Ontario, rural Ontario,
just near Omimi, and they also renovated a school, an old rural schoolhouse. Lakefield Academy or something?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And they just finished. He is coming home. You know, there's no other way to put it, and I think it's wonderful. I've often wondered, you know, it's a terrible thing to talk about maybe, but where Neil Young will be buried, if he is indeed buried, you know, would he come back to Canada? Because he seems to be reconnecting. He's always been a very nostalgic guy in a lot of his subject matter. He refers time and time again to where he grew up, to where he lived, where he was born, the country that he came from. And
I think he's just like a lot of people. As we get older, we look back on our roots and some of those places that like just played a very important part in growing up and who we became, right? I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah. I
mean, I would love to see him come back and settle in Canada. Maybe tour Canada more if he's even up for touring. But the message, from what I read, it was recorded in California. It's not in Canada right now. But I'd love to see the message. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he just appreciates his roots, so to speak, you know. And I mean, recently he put out an album, World Record, and on the front cover was his father.
His father, yeah, Scott.
Scott Young.
Who is a very famous sports writer and author, worked for years at the Globe and Mail.
Worked at Canadian Press too, I believe.
And maybe the Toronto Star as well.
But his father's on the front cover, and if you open up the CD, it's Neil and his mother, Razzie, I believe was her name, and then you go inside and, oh, okay, there was a picture of his brother.
Is that Bob?
That's Bob, and then in the other little sleeve, there's a picture of his sister. So, I mean, really, quite a nod to your family, to put everybody, you know, put the family album in a CD and an album jacket, that's for sure. But I have I had the opportunity a few years ago to, actually it was 1985, boy does time ever fly, to talk to his father, Scott, and Scott wrote a book, and it was called Neil and Me. Here you go, I'll just show you the spine of it. And it was, of course, all about his relationship with Neil. And I thought, who better to describe Neil than his father? So this is from the book. You got to remember, this was published in, actually, it was published in '84. And this is from the book, Neil and Me by Scott Young. Did my rejection of the importance of being standardized, my insistence on being true to myself, despite the many flaws my own true self might exhibit, translate into Neil's insistence on taking his own course in music, and to hell with anyone who disagreed? Because that's one of the things I love about Neil Young. He just did it his way, and he wasn't letting anybody stop him. I mean, they may have changed his route along the way, but boy, he did it his way.
But to the detriment sometimes of his own bandmates and stuff, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash's one. He just abandoned them basically in the middle of a tour, right?
Well, that's true, yeah.
He follows his muse wherever it goes, without a doubt.
So I'll continue with the excerpt from the book. Or is it that genetic or a mere coincidence? I do not know. His fans think of him as a great singer, performer, and composer. His music does speak clearly and poignantly to me, but the real basis of his worldwide reputation with 2 generations now is what he says in the spare poetry of his songs. He told me once that he learned from me that the most vivid way to get an idea across was to lay oneself bare in the knowledge that others would identify with the bareness, the sometimes painful truth.
Right.
He says 2 generations in there, but you got to remember this book was written in 1984. So I think that's just a really appropriate quote, an appropriate observation from Scott, who was a wonderful guy. I met Scott a couple of times over the years and did interviews with him. And just a quick story. One time he came into the studio when I was working in radio, and I think we were talking about that book or one of his novels. And I said, I have a bone to pick with you. And he said, what? I said, well, it's actually about your son. And he said, well, what? What did Neil do? And I said, well, I've been trying to get an interview with him for months because he's coming to town, or he was in town, and nobody got back to me from the management office. Elliot Roberts, the management.
Was that when he played here in '86, I think it was?
It was 84 or 83 or 84, yeah.
The International Harvesters?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
So I think I was talking to Scott before that, about this incident before that book came out, because that book came out in '84. Anyway, time is kind of fuzzy. But anyway, I said I was trying to get an interview. Nobody got back to me. I said I was a little ticked off. I would have really liked to have talked to Neil and done an interview. And he said, well, the best way to do that is just walk up to Neil and ask him. And I said, well, I can't get to him. I couldn't get to him. It was virtually impossible. But the interesting thing is before the show, a bunch of us went to the old Midtown Tavern. You remember the Midtown, of course.
Of course, I still know the Midtown.
Well, you know the new one. We were at the
Midtown.
old Midtown Tavern, a legendary tavern in Halifax. And who drives by the tavern but Neil Young? Because he was driving, somebody had seen him earlier, and he was driving an old van or something, and it had a surfboard or surfboards on it. So he drove right by the tavern. He's probably on his way to the Metro Center. Anyway, I didn't get the interview, but I did see Neil in his van and surfboards. But Scott was of the opinion that you just walk up to him and don't go through all the management stuff. But I didn't get that close anyway to Neil. So,
what's your favorite Neil Young song?
ooh, you got me there. See, that's the thing about Neil Young, and that's one of the things that I love about Neil. He's got
everything. Rockers
that just blow the speakers out, and then he has got mellow tunes that you have to crank the volume up. I'm going to say probably when it comes to the soft melodic songs, probably Only Love Can Break Your Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Love that song. When it comes to one of the rockers, I don't know, like a Hurricane, Keep on Rocking in the Free World, Southern Man. I mean, there's a few, but I would probably say Push Came to Shove, Only Love Can Break Your Heart, and Southern Man, probably.
Yeah.
And, you know, both from after the gold rush.
One of my favorite Neil Young songs, and it's one that probably is maybe a slightly lesser known than his famous songs, is Thrasher, which was on Rust Never Sleeps. And at the Neil Young tribute the other night, Joel Plaskett, a Halifax singer-songwriter who we've seen many times and love his music, was doing that song with his father, Bill, who's a guitar player who accompanies Joel a lot.
Yeah, they do a lot of shows together.
And it's just a wonderful song of, I don't know what it's about. It's sort of has almost these hallucinogenic lyrics about Neil on a cross-country road trip or something where he burns his credit cards for fuel and all of this stuff. It's just a great song, and I was just thrilled to see Joel Plaskett and his dad do that at the tribute the other night. I'll put a link to that one in there as well.
Yeah, that would have been quite the show to attend. And of course, it would have been great if Neil could have popped in. But of course, he did the next best thing was to send a message. But so anyway, folks, we just wanted to wish Neil a happy 80th birthday. I find that hard to believe. I wanted to thank you for all the great music over the years. Keep on making it. Hope to see you live again sometime. And if you watch this video, and we hope you do, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Subscribe, by the way, if you don't mind. Anyway, folks, one of our favorite singers, songwriters, artists of all time, Neil Young, just turned 80. And happy birthday once again from this Sonic Obsession.
Happy birthday, Neil.